4 billion. But what happens is that most states don't even bring the counterpart fund, so their money will just be there. So it's not a question of saying that we are not sending money to the state, but there are a part of it that will intervene directly. The issue of teaching aids. In that case, we don't need counterpart funding. We buy books and that teaching aids. So if there are books that this particular person get back to him, if there are books he thinks that Jibek should buy, and we are not, let us know. I'll give the Minister of Education, so we'll buy. We'll buy it and distribute to all the primary schools and the secondary schools in the country.
Yes, you have to.
But the ASU and KWASU strike, Mr. President.
The polytechnic people.
Yes.
Yes, it's been handled. It's quite unfortunate. It's quite unfortunate that just like we talked about security, it's only in this country where somebody will say we'll be on strike for 6 months and still get 6 months salary. When there's even an existing law that if you go on strike for 1 day, you are going on strike to demonstrate something, and you forgo your salary for that 1 day because you want to communicate to the government and the public about your concerns. You are paying sacrifice. But here in Nigeria, somebody knows that is the position of the law. He goes on strike, he still wants his money. The same thing with the ASO. Ordinarily, if you go on strike for 1 day by law, the law is there. It's not Jonathan that makes that law. He's supposed to forgo your salary. Well, it's just like even in the parliament, which some other heads of state have been asking me. I'm saying that without any reservation. A president asked me, what is happening in Nigeria? We have similar laws. In the parliament, if you cross carpet, naturally you feel your constituency wants you to cross carpet. So you lose your seat. Then go back and recontest that seat and come back to parliament. But in Nigeria, somebody wants to cross carpet. The constitution is very clear. He goes to court to say, I'm cross carpeting, but I must stay. So there are quite a number of things, but I know all these ones are because of, let us say, our democracy is still evolving. As we progress, the Supreme Court will begin to take a number of decisions gradually, and things will stabilize.
Even the National Conference is already trying to find a way to get out of the lockdown. But you mentioned the issue of governance and making mistakes or not making mistakes. Yeah. You've set up the National Conference. They are going on with their business. But some people have raised the concerns about the legitimacy and the place of that conference in law. Are you thinking of sending a bill to the National Assembly, or you are working in collaboration with your members of your party in the legislative arm of government to ensure that a mechanism is created, just as was done for you to become acting president, rather than of necessity, to ensure that whatever comes out of that conference would find a way into the amendment process of our constitution and then give us a better country?
The issue of legitimacy is legitimate because the constitution of Nigeria gives the robust powers to the president to call one people or a group of people to discuss things that affect the country in one way or the other, whether security or administrative or finance. There are quite a number of bodies like that we set up to help come up with policies and programs that will help government. But whenever they come up with those policies or programs, in some cases it will lead to modification of the laws. If it will lead to a modification of existing law or creation of a new law, you have to go to parliament to do that. Yes, I agree with you that maybe if you take like the Tanzanian example, Tanzania are doing a similar thing. First, there was a law to establish it. When you do that, it makes it easier because in the first place, the law will set out the procedure and how to conclude it. But here, we looked at the whole thing now. So if we go to the law, with the kind of parliament, especially the House of Representatives we have, you also must be mindful. As a politician, you must also know the key thing as a government you want to succeed. If you know there's a roadblock there, how do you manage that roadblock? You cannot wait to, okay, you must approve the bump before you pass. If you need to pass through another road to solve the problem, you have to. So it's legitimate. No, there's no issue of illegality. The problem we have is that since there is no existing law, because if there is an existing law, the pathway is well defined, so it sails through easily. Since there is no existing law, which of course at the end of the day, there will be a lot of modifications in probably the constitution or some existing law. How do you get that done? That is what we have. And that is the challenge we have. It's not the issue of whether the conference is legitimate or not. No, it's legitimate. And we're also working with them. This present government is also even almost coming to an end because after people are even asking about declaration or no declaration. That means that the government has the evening phase. So the key thing is how will the president want to work with the parliament to make sure that whatever we get pass through a process. And I promise Nigerians that all what we want is for all our people that we've selected to go there to agree that this is the best thing for this country. If they agree that this is the best thing for this country, the executive and the parliament cannot stop it. We'll make sure we use it's a PDP, the ruling party is involved. And we also have other parties that are friends. And even in the opposition party, there are people who believe that the best for this country must come true. So it's not what Jonathan likes. If I influence it, it will not sail through. But if I don't influence the decision, and the conference come up with a position on anything agreed by all or majority of the delegates based on their 70% or 75%, we will push it through the parliament. That is the key thing we promise Nigerians. If we wait to get a law now, it will not come out.
Well, Mr. President, no one program can take care of everything because there are so many issues. We do hope that some other time these issues will be raised with you and you'll comment on them. So for now, we would like to say a very big thank you to President Jonathan for giving us the privilege to grill him, so to speak, on so many national issues. And as we wind down, I'll just say, Funke, one last word to the President.
Well, Mr. President, as long as you are convinced that you are doing the good for Nigeria, please continue to do it.
All right. Bashir.
Mr. President, you spoke to people of Chibok, parents. They say they are still looking up to you to find their girls. They are waiting for you, Mr. President. And Mr. President should just tell the parents what to expect by God's grace.
Thank you. Let me thank all of you, and indeed thank Nigerians for the questions they raised through the Twitter and their concerns about the country. And I continue to promise that this government is committed, will do our best, and will make sure things will change. We have seen rails that we never saw before. The rails are coming, our roads are getting better. Agricultural policy is becoming more robust. The power sector, we are focused. The issue of security, we are handling it. Both of you mentioned the Chibok girls. Convey this to the parents and the guardians that they should cooperate with the government. They should come up and let us get an identity of their wards and their children, at least their photographs. Luckily, initially, somebody gave me the impression that no, it's a Muslim state, so that the Muslims have a way of hiding female. Luckily, over 80% of the girls are Christians. From the names I have in the white, either Paul or Amos or Peter and the rest. So, I've not done a proper analysis, but over 90% of them appear to be Christians. So, the issue of the Islamic protection of females is not so much, cannot affect more than 20% of the students. So, let the parents come and help us. And we promise we will find these girls.
Thank you, Mr. President. And it is on that note we conclude this edition of the Presidential Media Chat. On behalf of all of us here, I say thank you for being with us, and thank you once again to Mr. President.
Thank you.
Okay. And I'm Phil Stover. Bye for now.
Watching the presidential media chat, where President Goodluck Jonathan, in the midst of quite a number of journalists there addressing several issues of national importance. Of course, the abduction of the 234 girls from the secondary school in Chibok was top on the agenda. The president answered questions on that, saying that he has set up a committee to handle and to investigate the abductions, and urging any information from parents and guardians of the girls. Of course, the president also discussed the issue of security at the upcoming World Economic Forum on Africa, promising that schools and public institutions will be shut down for the free flow of traffic and also to be able to control security in the Federal Capital Territory.